Some of the Hurricanes' top recruiting targets were in action this weekend at the Under Armour Miami event. Where do the Hurricanes stand with top players we want to get on board in 2025?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, your host. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and writer for allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first and second listen today. We're available free on YouTube. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to be talking recruiting and some spring practice observations with Brian Smith. And Brian is always brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. And here is the recruiting overlord, and he's coming out hot because before we got started, Brian told me, he's like, hey, I got a recruiting nugget, a Miami recruiting nugget for you. And I said, hey, don't share it with me now. Let's talk about it on the show. What do you got, Brian?
I am finding more and more that Miami is just finding the diamonds in the rough outside the state of Florida, states of Georgia, Alabama. They're not easy to penetrate, but I was just at Carver High School in Columbus, Georgia. It's always loaded. They were the first one to offer a kid in the class of 26 an offensive lineman. Shortly thereafter, he got Missouri, etc. He's starting to blow up. And then I just kind of went through the state of Georgia. Like Miami's in on a ton of kids in that state, as well as the Canes recruit Florida. If you just get 2 or 3 kids a year out of the Peach State, that's how you keep having top 10 classes. I mean, you know, they got Zayden Walker getting ready to come in for a visit, etc. He's not that far from me over in Sway County. These are the types of players that change your program, but it's not just the seniors. Like the kid I saw is a 6'5", 310-pound offensive lineman who's only going to be a junior. I'm glad I don't have his grocery bill, but he's a big kid. Like I shook his hand. That's a large human being. These are the kinds of places you get into and you build relationships, and then you can just continue the pipeline. He's not even the biggest lineman they have. They have a freshman that's 325 pounds, but there's just an amazing consistency with Miami's recruiting effort. I'm glad to see it because not everybody puts in the effort that Miami does. Then you wonder when it comes to that time for that class, like, why aren't we getting the kids we want? Miami's putting in the work, and that's why they consistently have good classes.
Yeah, we've seen Miami going into Georgia a lot recently. Like you and I, we were talking with Popo Aguirre a couple days ago at the autograph signing. I'm watching Judd Anderson in practice. He's a quarterback out of the state of Georgia. Luke Nickel is committed for 2025. And I guess while we're speaking on Georgia, Brian, let me ask you, I got a nugget for everybody because I've been in contact with 4-star cornerback Jalen Hollywood Bell out of Loganville, Georgia, Grayson High School there. And, you know, he's going to come on the show Monday, by the way, because we're going to talk about the visit that he's going to have this Friday, Brian, this 4-star cornerback. Let me get his dimensions for the people out there. He's 5'11", 170 pounds. He's going to be visiting Jalen Hollywood Bell, going to be visiting practice on Friday. He's going to come on the show to talk about it on Monday. You've been all over the Southeast, including Georgia, Brian. Have you watched Jalen and some of his teammates play?
Grayson's one of the best programs in Dixie and the United States. They always have players. It's nothing new. This is a kid that's got offers from most of the big boys in college football, Georgia, etc. Getting kids like this on campus, again, this just goes to what I just opened up a show with here. You keep recruiting Georgia, you're going to get some of them. They keep coming to your campus. That's good. Miami needs corners. This is a guy that's one of the top corners in the South. So good for Miami because it's not easy. Everybody recruits Grayson, by the way. Like that's an automatic stop if you recruit the state of Georgia. So good for the Canes, man. This is how you do it. You get them on campus, set up those officials for later.
All right, let's talk Under Armour Miami, a player. And Brian, by the way, recapped it and a few different prospects at allhurricanes.com. Check out his work there. He's a colleague of mine at allhurricanes.com. You described Cortez Mills, the 4-star receiver out of Homestead, as perhaps the best player at UA Miami, definitely the best receiver. What stood out to you this past weekend about Cortez Mills?
Zoom. He just runs by guys. Look, there was a play where He made a hard cut left and then ran a post. The kid fell down. He shook him hard. He fell down. So, and then I was in the back of the end zone. He ran right toward me and caught it, but like he was just jogging because he was going against air at that point. He ran by everybody. He's a big body kid. He looks a lot stronger this year, and he's a player that Miami would take probably at any point. He's an impact recruit. I think he's the kind of guy, JoJo and Chance, he's in that level. Wherever he wants to go, he's got offers across the country. Miami's probably the favorite, but I mean, he's a South Florida kid, so ask me in December. But nonetheless, This is a priority recruit for Miami. Everybody, Kevin Bearden and everybody on the staff is after him. So great performance at Under Armour. He scored a bunch of times in the one-on-ones. I didn't see him lose a rep.
Now, I don't know how much interest he has in Miami or how much mutual interest there is, but there should be interest from Miami's point of view because the talk of Under Armour was Tae Harris, a defensive back. He ran a 4.38 40-yard dash, Brian. And you were telling me before the show, not only did he run a 4.38, this kid's 200 pounds. Like, it's not like 165 pounds, which would still be impressive running a 4.38.
Oh, yeah. I don't care if you're buck 20. If you run 4.38, I'm interested.
So, all right. Do you have you had a chance to first of all, to describe his game, and do you have any idea how deep Miami might be in recruiting this player?
They were his fifth offer. I asked him at the camp. I just happened to be over by the 40s when I ran it, and I was walking and I saw him start to run, and I just stopped. I'm like, that's different. And I waited, and I heard somebody say it, and I'm like, he did what? And because like nobody really breaks 4.5 that often. Yeah. It's with the handheld, it's just totally different. He ran 4.38 laser. There's different. You know what I mean? That's different.
For sure. Yeah.
That's an NFL time. Like any DB in the NFL draft would be happy with that for the most part. So impressive alone. And then he's a kid that weighs 200 pounds. Like he's built like a kid that's a strong safety / overhang linebacker, but he's playing corner. And then I go talk to Cox, the guy that does the DB stuff. He said he's got the best attitude of anybody here. And I'm like, well, thumbs up. He gets the MVP for the DBs or whatever it is they did. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he got an invite to the game. Like nobody knew what he was going to do. He's from Cedartown, Georgia, which is random. He's the one Georgia kid at the event. And he runs the fastest time. But everybody loved his attitude. Everybody went under the way to compliment him. And he dominated in his reps. So great kid. Miami, I would assume, along with the rest of the free world, will be going after him again. He's got some visits set, but that doesn't mean much. And now you don't have a limit of 5 either. He has like 5 visits set. Miami wasn't one, but I don't think that's going to matter much. Georgia and Alabama and everybody else probably is going to come after him now, I would assume. It'll be interesting because, like, good player all around and great kid too.
Yeah, I love it. Someone else I know who's a good player, good kid is Chris Ewald Jr., the defensive back out of Chaminade. He was also at Under Armour Miami. Anything new on his recruitment, Brian, and where Miami stands?
Yeah, he was, I believe, at Miami's practice Monday or Wednesday. I forget which one he's going to. He's got LSU coming up this weekend. He's going to visit Auburn again soon. Georgia's probably going to be an official visit. I mean, his recruitment is as elite as it gets, and great kid. He had a great performance. Him and Tae were probably the 2 best DBs at the event. I think that this is going to be another long recruitment, but Miami right now would be my pick for where he would go. And he's a Chaminade Madonna kid. Miami obviously loves that program, and he's a kid that has really been to Miami a lot. He's very familiar with the program, and he's a priority. I just don't know where he's going. Like, don't ask me. I don't think he knows. But Miami's right there. They're recruiting him very, very hard.
Anybody else outside of the players we talked about already who stood out to you at Under Armour Miami?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of kids. The receiver DB group, Ben Hanks is a tremendous player out of Booker.
Glad you brought him up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really good player. Miami wants him, and so does, just about anybody that recruits the greater Miami-Dade area. The Canes are probably the best bet there as well. But again, it's early, so let's see how the visits play out. I also think Miami's in great shape with Byron Lewis. I think that's going to be a Miami-Florida State battle. I talked to Byron quite a bit. He looks great. He's cut weight down to 200 pounds. He looks great. He did well at the Under Armour event. And then there's all kinds of defensive players. Both the kids at defensive tackle. Adarica is a lean to Miami, and there's a kid that I'll talk a little bit more about. I had him on the All Hurricane site. The other D tackle just moved in. He was from Canada, moved to Mobile. Now he's at Miami Central. They got 2 big time. He was the lineman MVP for the D lineman. That program at Central is good luck to anybody playing them this fall. But the Canes want both the defensive guys inside. They're offering him. Now the question is, which kids do they get? Like, they could get 2 or 3 kids just out of Central. The linebacker there, Marcellin. It's a loaded group. So there's probably 8 to 10 kids I would expect conservatively from that camp to end up at Miami.
Wow, that's great to hear. Brian Smith is with us. We're only getting started on this episode of Locked On Canes. Brian and I were both out at the first spring practice yesterday. There was no practice today. So stop asking me what happened in practice today. There was not a practice. You can keep asking me if you want to, but there was not a practice today. There will be a practice tomorrow. So I want to get a few more observations from Brian out of what he saw on day one, and then we'll talk about who we really want to watch and who we want to see play well in day number 2. So, my friends, we are only getting started. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode with our recruiting overlord of Locked On Canes. And I know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel because we're making money. We're having an awesome time during this basketball season. We got March Madness coming up. We're getting into the thick of it in the NBA season. And you can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet straight up on the money lines. You can bet point spreads. You can bet these awesome exclusive player props. I've been having a lot of fun this season with Jimmy Butler props. Guys, quick bets, live same-game parlays, which is fun as well, and so much more. Your mind's going to be blown when you see everything at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go there and shoot your shot. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And my friends, we are also proudly brought to you by Nissan, that incredible SUV lineup, guys. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around that next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for that next adventure. How about the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder? Room up to 8, an expansive cargo capacity, and advanced available 4x4 capability with 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds of towing. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. By the way, when we're at practice tomorrow, Wednesday, I will be offering our Locked On Canes Insiders exclusive update. So if you want to try it free for 14 days, you can click the link in the show description below. Become a Locked On Canes Insider. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours with practice updates or breaking news, recruiting scoops, one-on-one questions and answers. Try it free for 14 days. Then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there. Click the link below for Locked On Canes Insiders. Brian Smith, our recruiting overlord, is with us. So Brian, you and I, we did a quick hitter after practice yesterday. I did a longer episode with Liam Willerup, our colleague, and some of the players who stood out to me, and just want people to know I only have 2 eyes in the 40 or so minutes we were out there. I couldn't watch everybody, but I watched Cam Ward very closely because everyone wants to know how Ward is doing. I was watching the receivers closely: Isaiah Horton, Ray Joseph, JoJo Trader, Jacoby George, Xavier Restrepo, who had an incredible catch. The tight ends, I thought Riley Williams had a great catch. Elijah Lofton looked good. So I saw a lot of quarterbacks, receivers, and tight ends. Anybody else you had a chance to watch? And even out of those position groups, Brian, who stood out to you in practice one?
Well, I thought Ray was as good as anybody. He was my MVP because, he wasn't open. It was like he was the first guy out to practice because he just ran by everybody. His speed is hilarious in some ways. It's like you don't get hands on him and redirect him, nobody's really going to run with him. I'll be curious to see what he would run. Speaking of laser times, he would be pretty good. Horton is the other guy that's really interesting to me. They need him to be good for several reasons. Number one, he's going to be a junior. He's a kid that's been in the program. He knows the system now, and they don't have a lot of boundary type receivers. Right. He's at least 6'3". He has to stay healthy and produce. And I thought he looked good in the first practice. Now it's his time. This is his chance to shine. And then a guy that we've all rooted for, been kind of waiting for him, and that's Arroyo. You can't play if you're not healthy. It looks like he's good to go. I need to see him get tackled and get up and all that, but he did. So maybe he's finally going to be able to utilize that physical skill that he has. Miami's passing game will work much better if it's more balanced. I mean, you and I have written about it on All Hurricanes. They got to get better tight end production. It's kind of a broken record. It looks like it's headed that way. I mean, not only do you have him, Riley's got tremendous hands. We knew that. Jackson Carver and some other guys coming up. They got some tight ends now, and that's going to help the receiving corps. So I'm excited about the guys that catch the ball in general. Let's just see who kind of rises to the top during spring ball.
Let's talk. I'm thinking three guys that I really want to watch more closely day 2. I'm gonna have to bring some binoculars out there because unfortunately, like the defensive and offensive linemen work out at the farthest possible spot away from where the media get to stand. So I'm gonna bring the binoculars tomorrow because I really want to watch more of Elijah Alston because he's been getting rave reviews. The transfer defensive end from Marshall. Pro Football Focus loves him. He was the top graded edge rusher, I think, last year, at least the top graded transfer edge rusher last year. And he's gotten good reviews for the offseason stuff. So I want to watch Elijah Alston. Even though I watch the quarterbacks pretty closely and I'm going to be watching them again, of course, I probably didn't talk enough yesterday about Jacurri Brown. And I think he just maybe got lost in the shuffle a little bit for me because everyone wants to talk about Ward. Judd Anderson and Reese Poffenbarger are brand new, and Emory Williams is out there despite, breaking his arm in half 4 months ago. So I probably didn't do Jacurri enough justice, and I'll be watching him again and talking about him because I thought he also looked good in day 1. So I want to talk about him. And the other guy that I really want to watch more closely, Brian, I know he was out there. I just didn't watch the running backs that closely day 1, and that's TreVonte Citizen. So he's got a number change. He's wearing the number 23. He's practicing, which in itself, is a victory with all he's been through. Not that it's huge because he was practicing even at the end of the year, but we want to see him really be part of the running back rotation this year. So, that's 3 guys that I'm going to be watching more closely and talking about more tomorrow. Who are you interested in seeing in day 2?
Anything I can get, like you were talking about with the binoculars.
Yeah.
The line play. Who are they going to line up? I know they have some guys out getting surgeries and stuff, but it still makes it interesting. Who's going to play the guard spot? Who's going to be at center? Who's the backup center? All those little things. Line play is about chemistry. Yeah. So we need to see that. And then the D-line got transfers. They got a really good recruiting class and everything. So anything that we gain there is just helpful in general. But I have high expectations for the D-line. I'm not quite as curious, but the O-line could be just incredible this next year.
Yeah. How
does that chemistry look and who starts where? I'm curious about that.
Yeah. And Samson Okunlola is one that we're excited. He's fully healthy again. And he could be a possibility to win that starting left guard job. We'll see how that shakes out. Thank you, as always, to Brian Smith. You can check out his work at allhurricanes.com. You can follow him on X at FBScout_Florida. Brian, where are your travels going to take you next?
I'm going to go to Atlanta to watch more this next weekend. Some 7-on-7 and a 5-on-5 camp for linemen. Going to be a lot of top prospects, several kids that Miami has offered.
I love it. Brian Smith, awesome job as always. He's our recruiting overlord, brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. I'll talk to you guys again. So tomorrow's a practice day, so expect an afternoon episode because I'm going to be at Miami from first thing in the morning to early afternoon. So we'll probably do another 2 p.m. practice review tomorrow. On Thursday, Larry Bluestein's going to join us. We'll talk definitely some more recruiting and some more Canes football with him. If you missed our episode from earlier today, Big Vince Wilfork was awesome. He joined me and the Truth Teller today. So check out our episode with Vince Wilfork, and we'll talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.